Okay.
Okay, last week we learned a shiur about if somebody ben Hashmoshes forgot to plug in the crack pot or to put the blech, and obviously he cannot do it himself. He cannot do any isur the rice, bishul, or havora, plugging in something electrical ben Hashmoshes. However, we said that lekula alma, you could tell a Nochri to do that for you without a problem, plugging, because and we said we were talking about when the food is fully ready. Now, then there was a question: what happens if the food is not ready? Al pi halacha, you allowed to put on the blech on the crackpot completely raw food before Shabbos yourself before Shabbos, and it's perfectly okay. Mitzad hilchas Shabbos. But if you're going to tell over here to a Nochri to plug in the crackpot, and if it's raw, or to put the fire or the blech on the fire, and then he's going to put the food on the blech, l'choire, that's going to be bishul akum. So that's, we said l'choire, it's osur. So then Rabbi Handel Weingarten asked, so what happened if there was a fire already there, but you forgot to put the food on the fire? If the whole problem is that's going to be bishul akum, you put the fire already. You just have to put the blech. So you put the fire is there. Maybe it's not a bishul akum. So I told him then it's probably still going to be bishul akum. So now I'm going to go to the sigya. If again we're talking about, so we're learning two things in it. Bishul akum. If there is such a thing, if you put the fire when nothing was on the fire, if it's called the svara would be, it's not called participating in the cooking, because the fire on itself cannot cook a food unless you put the food on it. When there was no food on the fire, so you didn't do any participation. Somebody just put the food on the fire later on. So we'll see what's the halacha. If you want a short answer, the short answer is it's not so kosher. Now the long answer, we're going to see now different opinions. So I said let's start all the way as we usually from the Gemara. Maseches Avodah Zarah Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph. The Gemara says over there like this. Mamash, this case, well, they don't talk about Shabbos. They talk about stam, about Bishul Akum. Omar Rav Yudah Omar Shmuel. Leniach Yisrael Boser Al Gabe Gecholim. The Ayid put the meat on the coal. Today would be putting it on the fire in the gas. Ubo Oivet Kechovim V'Ofach Bo. And comes the goy, meaning he's turning the meat, or in this case we're going to see he's stirring the coal. It says mutar. It's not called bishul akum. You're allowed to eat this food. The Gemara says echidomi. Which scenario we're talking about? Have a boshil pshita. If the goy would not touch this at all, if the Ovid Kacham would not touch this, it would be cooked anyway. Of course, it's no problem with Bishul Akam. I didn't need him. It was good on its own. He says, Elo, lav de'i lahofach, lav a boshil. Elamai, we're talking about the way the coals were set up, it would the food would not get cooked on it because it would die out. The coals, the fire. So come the goy, and by turning the coals, he made the fire goes bigger, and because of that there was a bishul. The Gemara says, "Amay mutar bishulei she'ov the kechavim ninu." Then what's the heter? The goy did, without the goy would be no bishul. He did the whole bishul. It's bishul akum.
Like there's like a pilot light.
We're gonna get there. You're jumping right away from the Gemara all the way to the Mashgichim today. So there's a lot of process going till there. The Gemara says lo tzricha di lohafach have a boshil bedarte shoe v'ashtek boshil bechadashayto. We're talking about the scenario if the Nochri would not participate at all in the stirring the coal, getting involved with that fire, the food would be ready in 2 hours. The way they eat left the fire, it would take 2 hours to finish the cooking. Now, since the Nochri came over here, now because the Nochri was participating in stirring the coal and in the cooking, it's got cooked quicker, 1 hour. The Gemara says, "Mao the timer." I would think I would think maybe since the Nochri participated so much, he made the bishul quicker. So maybe we're going to say it's called his bishul akum. So that's why Shmuel It taught us no. If he helped in the cooking, but without him that would be cooked even in 2 hours and it's finished in 1 hour, it's not called Bishul Akum, because the halacha by Bishul Akum, we need some participation of Aid in the Bishul. That makes it no Bishul Akum. Always Bishul Akum. Okay, so that's what. What? No. We're not holding about Shabbos yet. We're holding. Okay, now we're going. What's la halacha? So what we'll do with this la halacha? That's a gemara. The Tur in the Yeredeh Kuf Yud Gimel brings like this. B'med dvorim amurim shemotza akum al gabe hagecholim kshechotam. Avalim knows all this heter with the Nochri and the Eid participate in the cooking. That's the heter. Avalim nosna yisrael esh. If Eid put the food on the fire, v'silkei. Then he took out the food out of the fire. That would be exactly the case at Rav Shabbos. The fire is there, but you took it out and you forgot to put it back. Ubo akum, and that has miyad, meaning before it was cooked yet. Ubo akum, v'yichziroi kam the nochri, puts it back on the fire. Osur, it's osur. Elam ken higil machal ben drosoi, shu shlish bishuloi, kshesilkoi. If it was already cooked, at least third of the bishulek, machal ben drosoi, then if the nochri put it back, it would be muter. And if it was raw and under the third cooked, it's considered to be raw. L'kula alma memele say memele afilu im silka is amenesh in bagav yisrael anam shum b'shnei. So no, I'm sorry. So that would be osur. But if it was shlish b'sula, that's mutar. Even the goy put it back. Now, according to this, if it's a raw food, and according to the two, the way Pascal, according to this Gemara, Mamash like this Gemara, if it was a completely a raw food or less cooked under the turret, less than shlish b'shulai, and you removed it from the fire, and the poskim bring doesn't make the who removed it, the yid or the nochri, and then he put it back on the fire when it was raw. That's not called bishul. It's not bishul akam. It's osur. That's how the tur paskin. Okay. Now la halacha, this halacha, the Shulchan Aruch paskin like this Gemara, like this tur. That's how it is. If the nochri put, even the fire was there, if the nochri put on that fire that you put, if it was raw, it's not called bishul. So it's called bishul akum. Again, the idea is because if you would leave the fire alone, that the cook would never be cooked unless you have to put it on the fire. So he made the whole bishul. Okay. Now come
something that doesn't have, you can eat. But if it's something you can eat raw,
then there's no if there's no chach bishul akum over there. You're right. If it's yeah, okay. Now comes the Ramon. All this I'm not reading even the Shulchan Aruch because that's exactly what the Torah and the Gemara said. Come the Ramon says v'yesh cholkin v'svirilu that lokas ha'esh. If somebody puts the fire on a eid or chitui begecholim or stirring the coals, in this case would be changing the on the gas by us the fire up and down. Well, more up, not down. Chitu begecholim, you're making more fire, more up, yeah. Mahana le'inyan bishul, k'mo le'inyan pas. By the bread, l'kula alma, v'maskim, that if you participate just in a fire, like throwing a kisam over there, it would be pas Yisroel. Just throwing, going to the bakery, that was in the olden days when the hashgacha business was not popular. Many people used to go to the bakery in the morning, throw over there a kisam, throw over there a piece of wood, and that would be pas Yisroel. But he says, the Ramos says, same thing by pas Yisroel, that helps to throw over there a piece of wood. Same thing by bishul. V'chen no yhagin, he said. Va'afilu chitu, now I'm going to go what's negia to us. V'yesh omrim, da'afilu lo chitu Yisroel v'lo ishlich sham kisam. Because you could argue kisam meaning a wood when you mamish putting when the food was on it already, so there was already cooking and you participate in the cooking. But if there was a fire before the food on it, there's not participating in any cooking, participating in the fire. He says Raksho evet grim hidlika esh me'eshel Yisroel shore. It goes to such a kula. That's what Avraham Meir said about the pilot. Even there was a pilot over there, a fire of Aid. And Nochri took the fire from that fire and he lit the fire, meaning again, from the pilot, let's say today, he lit the range, the oven. That's mutter also. So according to the Ramo, he goes that far that Obviously, we take fire from a fire and then start cooking. By the fire was before any cooking. So in our case, when there's a fire, and according to Ramah, that putting the fire itself without any food on it, if he started the fire, that's called participation, and it's not called Bishul Akum. So according to this would be, if somebody Erev Shabbos, Ben Hashmoshes, realize my food is completely raw and it's not on the fire is on, he could tell a Nochri, put it on the fire. Again, with Ben Hashmoshes, Amira La'akum is mutar, yeah. Especially, we said already, is Dvar Mitzvah over here. So Me'ele, Kavod Shabbos. According to the Ramah, it won't be Bishul Akum because you put it's your fire. However, it's not poshut at all. The Shach, he brings this whole thing and he argues, he says this, he says, L'choyre kosher du neged hashas. The Gemara I read, he asked the Ramah, how you paskin like this to just putting a fire and nothing on it, and then come the guy puts on the fire. It's called bishul. It's mamash hepech. A Gemara would just learn. He says, how could you paskin like this? Without getting ba'arichos advorim, he says there's two poskim saying this heter, Isur v'heter and the Ramah. He says the soymech because the same thing that putting a wood chip on the oven, the kisam. It's al pi halacha. It's not moyel. Elamai, the Rosh and the Toys brings says that's one of the difference between Bnei Bavel and Bnei Yisroel. That the Bnei Bavel were matir to participate just with throwing a wood chip, even though it's not al pi halacha din of the Gemara, but we matir it because part of the bread was oichel nefesh, necessity, in order not to make it too difficult. That gezeire of pas akum bishul akum, they were matir to throw a wood chip over there. Same thing he says the matir by bishul. Now, but he says even by the bread, the Tur brings over there. The whole thing is just because we using it. Mutav shiu shoging v'lo yu mezidin. Here's the lashon of the Tur. V'hanach lam leYisrael mutav shiu shoging v'lo yu mezidim. The whole thing is a big b'di'evet to soymech on this. We're doing it because, but so the machlokas of most poskim with the Ramon Isur v'heter, they hold the heter of participating in a fire only, like the Ramah said, even taking a fire from a fire, like a pilot, it's only the gabe baking, and the Isur v'heter, and the Ramah saying it's also help for cooking. However, the conclusion of the Shach, L'inyan dina, l'maisel, if to bank on this halacha of the Ramah, that you could put the food on the fire that the Aid put it, and you putting the food on the fire, so this whole participation, he just started the fire with no food on it yet, says, L'inyan dina tzorich iyun, kevan de b'shas isa behedia, de'echa de'iniach Yisroel bosser, al gabak gecholim, ubo evet kechovim v'ofach bo osur. Im lo sham izvashel, b'li osiyo ha'evet kechovim. So meaning, you have to put the food in such a way on the fire that it would get cooked without the Nochri participation. Otherwise, so by baking the fire, the food not going to get cooked unless it's on it. So the Lamaisa, he brings, he says, Lamaisa, he says a big doichak to rely. The Shach is not saying it's also to rely on the Ramah, just a big doichak to rely on him. And same thing, the Gra also disagrees with this Ramah. Whoever could see the inside, I'm not gonna. And then the Taz has also a problem with that psak. He says that only helps. By the way, that's enough. The Taz says this heter of the Ramah, even you rely on it, it's only beves Yisroel. But if you go to a commercial places, beves Nochri, where you over there just do hashgacha, such a heter, he says, is not gonna help. Anyway, so since this whole Indian, or like I said, the heter of the Ramah, it's a big b'di'evet. Even not Pashut, you could say machlokes Ashkenazim and Sfardim, but it's not. The Gra, the Shach, the Taz, and here's also the lashon of the Aruch HaShulchan, which is that's the latest one from all of them. It says like this: Ume'acheresh b'paseh kelu harbe, k'moichen b'chan, aval be'emes and kulos gdoilos and roi l'smoch al ze rag b'shas adchak u'b'ves Yisroel. Okay, so Mimele, and that's the shita of many poskim, Rishonim and Achroinim, to say that we're going to soymech on the pilot by bishul, not by pas. We're more soymach on it. By even over there, it's already a big kula because chaya nefesh, the lechem, the bread is chaya nefesh. We can't live without it. That's a necessity. So, but by cooking, by bishul, lamaisa like this. Halacha lamaisa. If somebody erev Shabbos forgot to put the food on the fire was put already by Yahid. So according to the Ramo, you could soymach on the Ramo. Kedayu Ramo lismach b'shas adchak. It's called Shabbos. You're not going to have food. You could tell the goy to put on the fire, but definitely it's a big v'di'evad l'maisa mitzad bishul akum. So such a kula. I know the makel on it in many kashrus agencies. According to many poskim, it's a big problem. This kula relying just on a pilot. Or on lagabe, like I said, lagabe baking, it's more easier. But lagabe cooking, to rely on it, it's definitely, like according to many poskim, it's not worthwhile to rely on this.